that's an interesting thing to consider because it's really just they have the philanthropic culture. Like you
Yeah.
have the spirit.
Yeah.
But then we're here to say, but also maximize it so that in the end you can give more.
Right.
Because the taxes that you're going to save, most likely you're not going to buy a boat with it. You're
Right.
going to give more, right?
Right,
So it's like
right.
a cycle. So.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. Today, we're taking a little bit of a sidestep. Our friends from Montreal are coming in today to talk about philanthropy. Amy?
We're talking about the top 5 most asked questions when it comes to setting up a donor advised fund and what that's all about. So
Fun.
we have a lot of fun doing it. And we've got a live audience today. So it's kind of
Stay
a
tuned.
special episode
Can't wait.
coming up next. Welcome to another episode of Timeless Wealth. So I am joined today again with Danica and Chantel from the Philantra team here at National Bank. And so as a reminder, Philantra is our donor advised fund group. So you help clients that have charitable giving wishes and you help them organize and structure it and look after tax receipts and a whole lot of other planning that goes along with it. But what we thought we would do today is we would say, why don't we pick your brain on what are the top 5 questions you get from clients, because a lot of clients aren't familiar with this type of structure. Oftentimes it's this idea that you have to have multi millions of dollars before you set up some sort of foundation, if you will. And so this is a really good entry point for a lot of clients and can solve their charitable giving needs. And so we thought, let's pick your brain on these top 5 questions that'll probably answer a lot of viewers' questions when they hear the name Philantra and what's it all about. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, thanks
I
for
would say
coming in again. You guys made the trip in from Montreal, so we had to take the opportunity to get you back in the chair. So first question, what's the difference between a donor advised fund and a private foundation?
You spoke about a donor advice fund, what we friendly call a DAF. Some people will know what it is, but a lot of people will have tons of questions and they don't really know what this is all about.
Yeah.
They will talk about generally, they can know about private foundations, or they will talk in their simple words and just speak about what they want to achieve and donations and how it is that they can achieve their goal
Right.
in philanthropy. So the structure world is our part to answer and make sure they understand the difference. So globally, these two vehicles are made to invest in philanthropy.
Right.
Whether in both cases it's personal gifts and important investment like
Right.
wealth transfer, and the one is more structured around a family. The private foundation, you create a foundation, you have to register, you have to be accepted as a registered foundation. You have to have board members, you have to report to the CRE every year, make
Right.
your annual report. So
There's a lot involved in setting up a
to
private
me,
foundation.
it's like a small, medium-sized enterprises in donation.
Right.
It's if you like to run a business, you probably will likely like to have a private foundation, but it's a bit more costly
Right.
at the end of the day if you compare with a DAF,
Yeah.
where you can open an account inside of a structure, an existing structure,
Right.
and share the cost and the administration with others.
Right.
And most of these structure are you mandate someone to
Right.
administer it.
Right.
So you don't have to have it on your shoulders, and you can simply concentrate on the fun part, which is
Right.
the giving part.
So that's really the difference, right? So the setting it all up on your own versus a DAFT or a donor advised fund work is, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have created the foundation
Correct.
yourself, and so members can join and create their own kind of sub foundations, if you will, and then that's where they share all of the costs and everything like that, so that you really leverage the expertise without having to have to manage it on your own.
And technically, this structure is a public foundation
Right.
where we are putting money in in order to distribute it
Right.
to different charities. And of course, donors who create funds choose the charities
Right.
where they want to distribute.
Right.
So it's
Oftentimes we
very-
find these questions, where this comes up in conversation, and it kind of leads into our next question, is when we're talking to clients about, we know a lot of our clients are very charitable. They're gifting on an ongoing or just kind of ad hoc, maybe when bonuses come in, maybe they send it out, or over the holidays is a really popular time. But then the question, when we start talking about estate planning, I know firsthand, I was chatting with a client yesterday and they said, oh yeah, I have charities listed in my will, like a certain percentage goes here, a certain percentage goes there. But sometimes they're not aware of the concept that you can actually set up an allotted amount of money now and set it up so that you can do your gifting from this pot of money. But when you pass on that fund, it carries on, right? So your gift continues on into the future. So the second question that you often get is, why should I give during my lifetime or after my death? Like, which one?
Well, there's not one good answer to that question. In a way, it depends.
Right.
I think it should follow a conversation
Mhm.
about the person's or family or couple's goal for their philanthropy. That's one part.
Mhm.
When is it that they want to measure the impact? Would they want to be part of it? And then I will bring the rational part, which is the tax part, which help decide if
Right.
it would be a good idea to create the fund during our lifetime, or
Right,
their
right.
lifetime, or wait until the end of the life. There is an answer to that. There is a rational answer to that question. And I think the best thing that we can do to help is to calculate it
Right.
and offer an information for to reflect on.
Well,
And take the decision.
that's where we work together, right? So we do the financial
Absolutely.
planning piece to say, when can you afford to do this? Can you do it sooner and benefit from the tax deductions now in your lifetime? Or do we want to be conservative? Maybe to meet your lifestyle, you don't have quite enough, but if there's anything left over and you wanted to set this up, then maybe it's after. So it's not all or nothing, but it's really individualized.
Exactly. And in the answers that we may find is that we may find that after the calculation with the idea of giving in will, we may find that there is a loss of credit
Mhm.
because there is a certain maximum that you can
Right.
claim. Obviously, your liquidator
Right.
will claim, and people don't know that. Most
Right.
people never thought about this
Yeah.
point.
Well, that's
and
a
this
big part of your
it's a
role
big part.
is the calculating the tax benefit, right?
Yeah.
It's great that we want to give and be thoughtful in our gifts, but there is a tax benefit that a lot of people may not be taking advantage of to the full, realm of it, that you guys can help with those calculations to really maximize that impact.
Yeah.
And it's actually interesting because I was just going through literature, and it's actually really hard to say how much Canadians give because more than half of them don't use their receipt.
Right.
So that's an interesting thing to consider because it's really just they have the philanthropic culture, like they
Yeah.
have the spirit.
Yeah.
But then we're here to say, but also maximize it so that in the end you can give more, right?
Right,
Because the
right.
taxes that you're going to save, most likely you're not going to buy a boat with it. You're,
Right.
you're going to give more, right? So
Right,
it's like
right.
a cycle. So we take that
People
mission
are giving back,
seriously.
the saving.
Right.
Philanthropists are giving back. That's
Yeah.
what we observe,
Yeah.
and that's perfect like that. This
Yeah.
is, and they're happy to just realize that they could do more. They can, most of the time, they can give more
Mhm.
if it's well done, it's well calculated, maximized with the tax, and they can give sooner
Mhm.
and benefit from the gift that they gave to
Right,
one
right.
or different charities.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. So the third question we get is, where and how should I give? I.e., a cause or a charity. Sometimes they don't know where to start, right? So
Absolutely. Would you like
it's
to answer
so
that
they
one?
might say, I have a passion in the arts.
Yeah.
Which charity do I give to, or which like how does your
Where do we
group
start?
help with that?
I mean, it's such a good question that they created my role to actually answer it, right?
Yeah.
To help the clients actually go through that process. And it is a process. So it's okay not to know right away.
Right.
And we'll go through, it's an approach. It takes time. We do work sessions,
Mhm.
literally. And we'll start with, where do you give already? Or what's your
Right.
history about that? And then sometimes they'll tell you about it, but they're not necessarily passionate about it.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, or it's just they've been giving there for some time, but then when you dig deeper, you realize that, yeah, but maybe, like something happened in my family, and then that hospital helped, or that charity did something.
Right.
And then this is where I kind of lead. It's a sensitive
Right.
conversation to have, because you go deep
Right.
into the values and the passions and life experiences, and tears are shed, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
laugh, and there's good laughs about it. And so this is really like a natural kind of approach. So for each client it's different,
Right.
but I mean, we'll ask questions like, do you want to give internationally,
Right.
or do you want to give locally? Because it's
Right. Good
it's
question.
very broad, and they normally know about
Right.
that. And then we'll go towards more the type of cause, like, is it children, or is it education, is it whatever. And then we'll go through that, like it's like a filtering approach, if
Right.
you will, and then in the end, again, we're neutral. I'm not
Right.
gonna push for one charity over another, but we'll try to find the best fit.
Right.
Because for the charity, that's better, right? Because they're probably going to receive funds for a longer time, and probably more funds.
Right.
And for the donor, it's a satisfying experience.
Well, and you
'Cause
probably
giving
have
should be
some
fun.
donors. I mean, again, we see this again from our client base. Some are, they're busy in their careers. They know they want to give, and they do the due diligence to find the right organization. But then there's some that now they're retired, they have more time, they want to be more involved.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving the gift, they actually want to be involved in a certain project when they give. And I
Yeah.
think your group helps with finding those projects and where they can connect with the organization.
Even develop them.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
It just happened, actually, one story. And yeah, we can go anywhere. That's
Right.
probably the first question we asked you.
You probably have some
charities-
unique projects that people come up with, because people can be really creative.
They
That's what
are
I was gonna say.
creative,
They're big
absolutely.
dreamers, and that's what we ask charities. What is your dream? Like,
Right.
don't tell me just what's your program and this. What's your dream? Where do you
Right.
want to go? Because
Right.
we have people who can actually help you go there.
Right.
So isn't it a fun job to do? Actually,
Yeah, I
we're
would
just
say so.
talking about dreams.
I would say so.
Yeah.
And the capacity to achieve these dreams.
Right.
Some philanthropic vision that people can have.
Right.
They don't need a lot to push to find, but sometimes they will refrain themselves and try to fit into existing charities that they know. So
Right.
we like to open and let them know that there's
Because
tons
there's
of
so
opportunities.
many, right?
There's
So
so
maybe
many.
to introduce them of one that's more specific that they hadn't heard about is
Yeah.
also a good opportunity.
They,
too.
they're not. They don't have to think in terms of specific charities. I think it's important to go back to the causes
Mhm.
behind the organism,
Yeah.
and therefore, I think it's important to have an introduction, especially for wishes, for gifts and will,
Right.
where they won't be there to come and add precision. We have to understand what is the large picture, the goal that they want to achieve, and then after. We will strongly suggest to prioritize some charities, but not narrow it too much either, to restrain the capacity for us to execute these wishes.
That makes sense.
And to add to that, because part of the question is also, how can I give better?
Mhm.
And those are all great questions. Like, should I give more often, smaller amounts? Should I give bigger amount once a year? Should I, so, and that is, it depends on the charity needs.
Right.
Some of them will say, no, like we prefer monthly, or we prefer, and that's
so
fine.
that the organization can model, right?
Yes.
So,
And this is important too, because we need to represent the charities to the best of our knowledge. So we need to be well informed and feeded by the charities. That's a welcome, an invitation that we are telling to the charities that they should help us to help them. The more we know, the more we can share the good news and the opportunities for donors.
Which is question number 4, Chantal. Which is question number 4 is clients come and they ask, what about the admin fees or the governance of the charities, right? They want to make sure that if they're giving their gifts, that the charity is being well run, that there's not a huge leakage in terms of admin costs. And you guys are well versed in these organizations and know what to look for, so can help point out those as well, correct?
Yes, absolutely. We need to have this conversation with every single charity that we're helping.
Right.
And they appreciate it because they get a sounding board from the clients who are interested to help
Right.
them. So I think we help some charities.
Oh, definitely.
That's the feedback that we received, that
Right.
they can improve or make it clearer. Or
So in terms of technicality, what we use is the T3010, which is CRA on the CRA website, and it's public. The thing is, the guidelines aren't that clear necessarily for charities to actually complete it. So if you just stop there, because you can see the expenses and the revenues, and so if you just stop there, some maybe smaller charities would actually be discarded from the choices, while they could actually be a very good fit and they would benefit from such donation.
Right.
So we go further than that. And if there's a flag from like a question mark, like this, I will reach out to the charity and say, what is that? And that's where the help comes in, because they're like, oh, actually this is a mistake, or oh, this is because we included some salaries because that and that. So we do that extra work.
Right.
Maybe a donor would be like, oh, just refrain to give right away, right?
They might not have the time too, right? It's like you're doing
absolutely.
the best you can, and you kind of just Google around and go, I think it's an okay charity, but to know that there's another level of due diligence behind the scenes with your group would give me peace of mind, knowing when I'm making that gift that it's being
exactly
well
that.
spent.
Peace of mind is something that we hear a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And bring that conversation, I'd say, even further. Admin fees, like we've heard about that, and it's, I don't know why, it's like at the beginning of every year there's that conversation about the salaries and charities and the admin fees. We're trying to go away from that, saying it's a professional world now.
Right.
Charities are run by professionals.
Right.
So if you want your money, just like they work with you, or like they wouldn't want you to be volunteers, right? They're not expecting you to be a volunteer.
Right.
But this doesn't, that mindset hasn't changed yet in the charity world.
Right.
And we can see, we're talking about that more and more. But if you want the right people to be in the right place, and for that charity to actually grow with your money and use the resources that you're giving them properly, then what is the problem with having, not saying like 40%, this doesn't.
Right.
But we're trying to make that, a reasonable fund. So we're trying to get that conversation going, which is, it's an interesting one. We see that the industry, it's an industry, evolve.
That makes so much sense.
To be part of it.
Yeah. So the final question, number 5, is when do I know it's time for me to get advice around this? Like when should I be asking the question to say I should be meeting with your group?
I would say as soon as the idea of donation or making something a bit special or more than the usual annual gift arises, I think at any given time, it's time to start the conversation. Let us know that it's a reflection going on. As you know, we work in team with advisors. So my point is, advisors know their client, meet them regularly. So they are in the best position to identify the right moment. And we want to be part of the conversation because we try to cover like every angle. And it's very good for us to just hear the tons of questions that people have. Makes us better, preparing better, understanding better what the need is, and adjusting our offer.
Well, and like we said at the onset, a lot of people just didn't know this is an option. So just exploring like, hey, this is an option. If it is a passion of yours to give either now or later, at least familiarize yourself with how it works and what it's
just
about.
think about it in simple terms, that it is now, it should be completely integrated into financial, tax, and estate planning. That's a vision that's really making its space now. And therefore, whenever planning is in the air, and if the people have an idea of making a gift, or they don't, sometimes they don't see themselves as being capable of giving larger gifts, because we were talking about long term. It is for a certain number of people that are able to give larger gifts than the average, and they want to build something. So we have to plan it right. And everything is there. The expertise is there. The help is offered. So
another thing though is, if there's what we call a liquidity event or something that happens.
Right.
Or
Sale
an
of a business
inheritance.
is an
Yeah,
example, right?
absolutely.
Exactly.
Inheritance. Yeah.
So those are also options. Maybe they've never thought that they had the capacity before, but now
Right.
situation has changed.
Right.
So
And not to presume that because the conversations start with the possible gift and will, that this will be the answer at the end of the process.
Right.
That might be,
Might
but
be.
that might just be the start of an entire reflection. And if we calculate it, we may wind up that it's part
Right.
now, part
Part
at
later.
the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
And how do you write all of that? We can
That's what you
really
do.
help.
That's your
We do.
specialties. That's why we
Yes.
come to you. Well, we've been filming today in front of a live studio audience. And so I haven't prepared you for this, but the peanut gallery over here, Sean, you have a question.
I do, actually.
Come take my seat.
Thank you.
Good luck, ladies.
Chantal, you've done a great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
I think what you do is very valuable. My question is more centered around the future me, or the future Amy, or whatever. And I'll give you an example. Like, consider Amy, highly successful. She's younger, invests properly. But the thought of giving to a charity has really not crossed her mind, not even remotely. At what time, or when does she start, or when should her family start thinking about a Philantra type solution down the road? And then what should go into her thought process as she just, even again, from 30,000 feet, looks at maybe donating to charities?
I think I have this concept of an exploratory meeting
Mhm.
that you could offer in the privileged position that you occupy.
Mhm.
You know this person, and I agree with what you tend to see.
Right.
Why don't we offer her just an exploratory meeting
Okay.
to have a conversation about everything that can be done in terms of donation? Then we'll answer different questions, whether it's a good time,
Right.
whether it's the right amount, the right vehicle.
But is there a point in time where you go, okay, like obviously you have different phases in life. There's your you get through life phase of life, then you start accumulating assets.
Yeah.
And then I like to think a lot of people or clients that are using your service are, not all, but typically are a little bit older and a little more, let's say, situated in their life, established, right? But clearly, the more advanced you can be in your preparation, the better. How should someone younger say, okay, again, we're on the financial planning process, say, okay, how much should I be apportioning to charitable giving? Because, I mean, we know certain people who will go nameless, Amy, that are zero, but which might be low. But is there a number that's too high? Like, how do generally people approach that, let's say a decade or so in advance?
I think the objectives that they have for their life is part of the key.
Right.
And if the philanthropy or donations is not part of it, maybe in your position, you can ask the question, what about philanthropy? Is it a goal? Do you see people around you? Do you wish to do it one day in a certain extent?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have dreams? Like we were talking about dreams.
Yeah.
It's legitimate to ask this question. And if it's not a flat no,
Mm-hmm.
even though if it's a flat no, I think we have approaches. But if it's not a flat no,
I'm not judging, by
then-
the way. I don't judge.
But then-
it's observational more than,
we don't judge. But we want to offer the opportunity to have this conversation. So perhaps never, because people think for them,
Mm-hmm.
presume that's not the right moment to even ask the question, and you may be surprised. And when you bring this person that I wish have the opportunity to meet us,
Right.
then we are in a position to just naively ask this question: did you ever think of? Especially if you, with the information that you see that there is a capacity, because you don't want to create expectation if the person is, we can do a smaller project, but if a person wants to create a fund and so on, it may not be for tomorrow morning because the person is still young, the young kids wants to travel, and there's tons of other projects, but you never know. And if the information have been given to this person, the life is, the decades are coming, and there might be reasons for motivating donations. Could be something that happened in the life, or that comes back when you have a bit more time.
So I guess in all things, like all things in life, maybe the earlier you start thinking about this, the better.
For sure.
But it wouldn't be likely, again, not to pick on Amy, but in her case, it was really remote. But if we bring it to her attention earlier, she can start thinking about it and then make better decisions as that time approaches.
And share stories, share good stories.
Okay.
So I'd like to book an appointment. I'm going to remove Sean Durkin from my will and donate it all to charity. Thank you.
I was going to say, though, another way maybe to approach it is also maybe she's involved
Right.
in, maybe she's a volunteer, maybe she's on the board, maybe she gives her time, maybe she gives her skills and competencies, right?
Okay, you do that.
Not to
I'll give you
presume.
that. Yeah, all right.
Do you really
It's a
know?
first start.
Do you really know?
No, I make really vast assumptions in a lot of areas of my life. So it's, okay. Well, that was great. Well, listen, we appreciate the two of you coming all the way from Montreal. More to come from Philantra, I'm sure. And we look forward to seeing you this time. And thanks for joining us. Hopefully you'll be back.
Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you.